Hi, my name is Linda Cirulli-Burton, and welcome to this channel named Above the Battleground, ACIM. Above the Battleground is based on the teachings of a spiritual self-study path known as A Course in Miracles. I've been a student of A Course in Miracles since 1992. And lately, the urge to share some of the lessons, some of the insights with you has really been overwhelming. And the purpose is that the lessons, the teachings will go deeper in me and hopefully be of some benefit to you on your own journey, because we're all on the same journey. I've shared with you that Dr. Ken Wapnick, one of the reasons why he is my model, why he is my mentor, is that he brought the learning that he adored. He brought it into his teaching of A Course in Miracles, and then he could make the teachings of A Course in Miracles just pop for me. One of his particular favorites was Albert Camus, because Dr. Wapnick really loved philosophy. And when he was in college, he read an essay that had been written by Camus on the myth of Sisyphus. And it impacted Ken to such a degree that later on he created a workshop based on the myth of Sisyphus, particularly as it was approached by Albert Camus. And also he wrote this booklet. It's not big, and it's for sale at the Foundation for A Course in Miracles. And when I buy something from FACIM, honest to gosh, I just write all over it. I make a mess of it. But anyway, this booklet is called From Futility to Happiness, Sisyphus as Every Man. So what is the myth of Sisyphus? Well, just a little concise version would be that Sisyphus outwitted the gods. The gods were more than annoyed with Sisyphus, and eventually they will punish him. And this punishment will consist of rolling a boulder up a hill / mountain, and then just when he gets to the top and it's gonna go over, it rolls back down, and he has to come back down the mountain, and then he has to send it up again, and then it's going to come back down, and he's going to come back down, and he's going to do it again, and ad infinitum. So Camus' version, interestingly, of Sisyphus is that there was a change. In other words, you and I could look at Sisyphus and go, my gosh, what a mess. But the truth is that the content of that, the futility, it never goes right ultimately. Might a little bit right and then a whole lot wrong. That content is really describing what is meant by life in the wrong mind, in the ego mind, which is populated by bodies, by people thinking that they are bodies, and being impacted by every single thing that happens to them. Something good happens to them, I'm happy. Something bad happens to them, I'm sad. Always, it's like the power is given, quote, to the fates. Well, Sisyphus finds another way. And I'm going to say that he finds a way to not give in to the fates. And everything in A Course in Miracles is all about strengthening the decision maker so that the decision maker can choose the right mind. So in this little booklet where Sisyphus finds that he can be happy, I'm floored by this. Camus' Sisyphus was happy because he did not give his fate power over him and thus was able to rise above it. And I will tell you that Ken Wapnick also discusses Viktor Frankl, which many of you are more than familiar with, in that he was in a Nazi concentration camp, and what he discovered was that they could make his body do what they wanted that body to do. They could torture that body. They could hurt that body. They could do anything they want with the body, but they couldn't get to his mind. And that was the great gift that Viktor Frankl brought out of the Holocaust. And that Camus' Sisyphus from the myth draws out for us. This is why Sisyphus can be happy. He can shift attention to his mind and walk down the mountain, recognizing that he cannot change his fate. But he ended up having the last laugh. He becomes free by rising above their battleground and not letting it affect him, realizing he is not the body pushing up the rock. He becomes free. In effect, this is Jesus's message to us in his course, that we turn the tables on the ego forces in the world, whether they're physical embodiments or the thought system itself. That is what is so exciting. There can be a change, and the change is with the teacher. So I always say, you go to the top of the mountain, you sit on the bench with Jesus, and then you make a different choice. Now, right now, the world seems very, very crazy to many of us. I can honestly tell you, I've lived a long time. I have never known this insanity. I knew the 1960s and kind of the craziness of that, but nothing in my memory equals the chaos that's going on now, where every value seems to be turned on its head, where there seems disorder and disagreement in every side, screaming at every side. Life in these bodies has become enormously chaotic, where it's like every day it shifts. What's the new terror? What's the new thing we need to be scared about? And so what do you do in that case? You choose a different teacher. Now, I wanted to tell you about someone near and dear to me who chose another teacher. And everything changed. And I think I could get a little bit emotional right now because I'm needing to talk to you about my beautiful husband. Now, my husband, James Lee Burton, because every Southern man has Lee as a middle name, I was told. My beautiful husband left his body on June 15th of 2017. Now, I wrote his obituary, and I'll tell you, it was the greatest nonfiction piece I ever wrote in my life and will be for the duration of my life. My husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I will tell you that, well, if you don't mind, if I just read a little bit from the obituary that I wrote, and you'll understand better. As one would guess, the journey of, in this case, aggressive disease, removal of his prostate, various hormone therapies, radiation, progressive oral medicines, nuclear therapy, and multiple chemo treatments. It was a never-ending cycle of small successes followed by larger setbacks. Early on, my beautiful husband made the critical decision to treat his cancer as a job, to compartmentalize it as work to be done. And that typically meant for him and us 3 to 5 visits to doctors or other healthcare professionals on a weekly basis, as well as managing devastating side effects. Peripheral neuropathy took out all feeling in both legs to above his knees. And over the past 2 years, he lost most of the feeling in his hands. Now, I tell you this because without being a student of the form of A Course in Miracles, he was practicing the content for me and everyone he came in contact with. So he made the decision. Over the years, there was not a single instance of woe is me or why did God let this happen to me. Instead, he very deliberately chose to focus on laughter, kindness, and joy. He became very interested in every person who crossed his path, collecting tidbits of their lives and discussing them with caring and concern. Jim reveled in making people laugh and said how good it made him feel. He was hugged so much at Gainesville Health and Fitness Center that his beloved personal trainer, Mark Williams, had to make special time to accommodate all the people that wanted to hug him. At the acupuncture office of his equally beloved Dr. Min Lee, he entertained other patients and kept her laughing. He would teach her a couple of words in Italian, and Dr. Min Lee would teach him words in Chinese, and he would laugh, laugh, laugh. His best friends took him regularly to the Wing House for outings at Panama City Beach, and he ate out 1,000,000 times, sometimes multiple times a week at Napolitano's, a great restaurant that has since closed. I think because we gave it so much business and after Jim passed. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you is that his twinkle, his laughter, his other directedness made people want to be around him. To watch this was magical. His heart was filled with life and love. Now, an old acquaintance from decades ago, when Jim was in hospice, we went to hospice for 1 week, but he had always wanted to die at home. So I made sure that he was brought home. An acquaintance came to hospice just to tell him that he wished he had known him better from infrequently seeing him over the course of the years and witnessing Jim's spirit. Now, I want you to know that he found joy and happiness in the simplest moments and would continually point them out. When we go to Nappy's for dinner, he would say, "Now, wasn't that dinner wonderful? Wasn't this great?" We would watch TV, Jim, myself, and my pug, Izzy, who's asleep right here. She's been snoring. We would watch TV together, and he would say, "Now, wasn't this a wonderful night? You, me, and Izzy watching TV." He never missed a moment to point out a blessing. I wrote in the obituary, "Every day was broken into 100 blessings." His philosophy was that anything that might be upsetting was small stuff. The big stuff equaled the many little joys that he noticed spreading over his daily life, one day at a time. On May 3rd of 2017, we were told by the oncologist that now that the cancer had gone into his liver, there was nothing he could do. There wasn't any more treatments available. And so Jim went to Facebook. I don't use Facebook, but Jim used it for the last year of his life. And he went and posted that we would still fight on. And on June 17th, that fight had concluded. Now, I tell you this because A Course in Miracles tells us that the body can be used as an attack, or it can be used as a vehicle of beauty, of communication. My wonderful husband, he didn't know, but he was on the bench with Jesus, and he chose the right mind, the mind that could communicate through his body to everyone around him. The greatest teacher I ever had in my life was my husband, who taught everybody that came in contact with him that we are not bodies, we are minds. This is illusory. It's the teacher that we choose that will govern our lives. And he chose the Holy Spirit. He chose Jesus, and ultimately ended up being the greatest teacher that most people had ever encountered. Now, I want to share, I found this statement written by a poet named Ariana Danku. Probably killing that name too. And we put it in the booklet that was distributed ACIM service. And I just thought it was stunning, and that it really tied in with the myth of Sisyphus. And let me just read this. He made broken look beautiful and strong look invincible. He walked with the universe on his shoulders and made it look like a pair of wings. My husband, who never studied a minute of A Course in Miracles, but he lived its content. He was my greatest love, my greatest teacher of all. So thank you for joining me today. This wasn't an easy one for me, but I hope that it resonates with some of you. So thank you, and I hope to see you here again.